F1 and ITV, sponsored by LG.
Race day at the Nürburgring. Jenson Button arrives, swapping the ITV mic for the BAR steering wheel. He is back where he belongs, but don't expect too much. Kimi Räikkönen's up front and in shape for a third successive victory in the super-fast McLaren Mercedes. But the German Nick Heidfeld, quiet and very quick. He's on pole for the first time in the BMW Williams. It's one of the hottest weekends we've ever experienced at the Nürburgring for the European Grand Prix, race 7 in F1 2005.
Hello there, welcome to the paddock. In the past, Michael Schumacher has been the Euro star. He's won the Grand Prix a record 5 times, but despite Liverpool's exploits in Istanbul, you'd be very brave to back a red Ferrari revival this afternoon. Mark is with me, but Mark, having said that, everybody down to Michael Schumacher in 10th place, they have a genuine chance of a victory today.
I think they do have a genuine chance, but I think the play today, Jim, will be BMW Williams, Toyota into the pits early. Maybe Nick Heidfeld free stop, big rumour going about that at the moment. Raikkonen out in front and Alonso chasing him hard. Yeah,
you're a wise judge. You've been scurrying up and down the paddock here. Who do you really fancy this afternoon?
I think it's got to be Kimi. Kimi's on a roll. I think he's going to go out in front and control the race, and I think he really will dominate this one.
Okay, Kimi off pole though for the first time in 4 races. Well, as we told you in Monaco, the qualifying system has changed here this weekend. We're down to 1 session on a Saturday. Mercifully, Sunday's qualifying 2 has gone. Here's Martin Brundle and James Allen to bring you right up to date. We have a lap of the Nürburgring with the pole sitter and also the complete grid for the European Grand Prix.
So here we go then for our first crack at the new style qualifying. Remember, they've got to carry the fuel into this session, which they'll use for the start of the race. That's going to be interesting, Martin, because we haven't seen them all going low fuel, so we don't know how outright quick everybody is relative to each other. But it seems that strategy-wise here at the Nürburgring, there are 2 different ways of playing it.
Yes, you can do a long first stint or a short one. We could see a very wide range of pit stop windows for that first stop this afternoon, and what they've had to take into qualifying with them could be as early as lap 16 or as late as lap 26 and 27. And what about the tyres? Remember, in this Grand Prix last year, they used 4 sets of tyres. It was a 3-stopper during Grand Prix, and they've got to just have 1 set for this afternoon. So they had to drag quite a hard compound around through that qualifying session.
Yeah, some standout performances as well. Williams still looking very, very good in qualifying trim, but what about Michael Schumacher and Ferrari? The grip still isn't there on the single lap, even this far into the season. When are they going to find it?
Well, you do worry they'll never get it together, but they need a strong race today, don't they? Otherwise, there's the grave concern. If they don't perform here, then I think they'll not perform anywhere.
Jenson Button was the second car out on track after teammate Takuma Sato. The track was dirty, giving very little grip. After 5 weeks on the sidelines, Jenson came back to record P13 on the grid. David Coulthard, Red Bull Racing, not really happening here this weekend at the Nürburgring. Can't really find the speed. He ends up 12th on the grid. Jarno Trulli out in the Toyota, very close to their factory in Cologne. Many of their employees here. Trulli really pushed the car hard, managed to get himself up into the 4th place, and Toyota fighting for a podium. Rubens Barrichello came here still arguing with his teammate and argued with the car into turn 1. Lost a little time, but nevertheless lines up in front of Michael Schumacher, 8th on the grid. The world champion didn't really look on form all day. A lot of people in the paddock suspected he was carrying more fuel than his teammate, but then again the juggle drums are that he isn't. This was just a very poor lap from the world champion. Is he going to have Imola time of pace in the race, or is he just going to be slow? Nobody knows. Alonso out of the final corner, he needed something special to get himself on terms with Raikkonen here. The McLaren is the faster car. He didn't get it, he's 6th on the grid, and he's got quite a few cars between himself and Raikkonen. Last 3 races he's driven defensively. Here he's going to have to attack. We've seen Williams looking very strong in qualifying. Mark Webber was 3rd on the grid in Monaco, and he's 3rd on the grid here as well. Another committed point-to-point lap from the Australian, very neat and tidy. Nevertheless, the feeling is that, like Monaco, they've gone a little bit lighter on the fuel than the opposition around them. We will see. The next car out on track was Webber's teammate Nick Heidfeld, on home soil on a track where he learned to drive back at the age of 8. He was excellent. The feeling again is that he's carrying perhaps slightly less fuel than his teammate, but nevertheless this was a fantastic lap from the German, who's currently the best German in the World Championship rankings. Would it be good enough for pole? Certainly everyone at BMW was hoping so, and in fact it would be. It was clear from the outset that Raikkonen was carrying more fuel than Heidfeld. He's thinking about the championship, thinking about the race win this afternoon and the long game. He's 2nd on the grid, and he wants to take a big bite out of Alonso's championship lead.
The car felt reasonably good, but I'm sure we can get it back from there. We just had so much understeer in the car. I was fighting it through the corners, but it's all right.
Yeah, we are confident. We did our simulations, and we saw that it's better to do what we did now in qualifying.
In here, usually the inside line is not so good on the start, so we need to see what happens. But with this new qualifying system, you don't really know how much fuel they have and what they're doing, so we really need to wait and see until the race.
The first pole position ever is outstanding, but here at my home Grand Prix. Last week I was 2nd in Monaco. At the moment it can't get a lot better.
The Grand Prix of Europe at the Nürburgring in Germany, 5.15 kilometres, 3.2 miles, it's 60 laps, 15 corners in all. Let's take a look at them on board with pole sitter Nick Heidfeld in the BMW Williams. Up to 6th gear and 185 miles an hour down towards the very wide entry to turn 1. Been a lot of overtaking in there this afternoon. And then it's tight when you get then drops quite heavily away, and a strange style from Heidfeld. He changes gear right into the heart of the corner. We'll watch that as the lap unfolds. Into turn 3 already, pick up the white line on the inside and just hug it, and then you can run very wide in turn 4. All the drivers do that. Almost illegal really. You should at least keep 2 wheels inside the white lines defining the racetrack. The forward chicane, 105 miles an hour, down for the second part to 70. Great grip there, plenty of camber to help you lean on the curb to arrest the slide. Brilliant acceleration down the hill to the Dunlop hairpin. Still downshifting right into the apex of the corner. Now uphill through turns 8 and 9. Listen to this. Not a hint of lift on the throttle. Bring it to the right-hand side for the bumpy braking zone of 10. Get it in nice and early. Don't run too high. You've got to flick immediately to the left for 11. And the car working very well. Good direction change and stability. Now, good acceleration one more time. Building up to 185 miles an hour to the uphill braking zone for the NGK chicane. Just cheat the curbs and just straighten it as much as you can to get best acceleration up to 140 miles an hour before the Coca-Cola curve down to 70. Be patient on the way in. Now straighten the car up, run as wide as you can get away with. The line coming up. First pole position for Nick Heidfeld.
Nick Heidfeld, currently the #1 German driver in Formula 1, takes his first career pole position in the BMW Williams. Kimi Raikkonen, surely he's carrying a lot of fuel there, but still on the front row. Mark Webber is solid in 3rd position. Jarno Trulli again out-qualifies his teammate. Montoya, his best position this season. Alonso still thinking about that World Championship. Rubens Barrichello out-qualifies Michael Schumacher, but that's Rubens' best slot. Ralf Schumacher in 8th. Fisichella half a second away from Alonso. Michael Schumacher still struggling with those Bridgestone tyres. Massa in 11th slot there with the Sauber. David Coulthard is 2.5 seconds away from pole position. Big disappointment for Jenson Button, his worst qualifying position all season long. Lutzi lines up 14th. Jacques Villeneuve again outside of the top 10. Sato's 3 tenths behind Button for the BAR Honda. Montero 17th. Friesecker out qualifies Carter Kane in 19th, and Albers rounds up the grid.
Mark, I just want to pick you up on something that Martin said in that. If the Ferraris, and Michael Schumacher in particular, don't perform here, they won't perform anywhere. Would you go along with that?
I think they will perform, but I think it's going to be a long time before we actually see it. Bridgestone are well behind the 8 ball. They've got to catch up to Mitchell in terms of tyre technology, and it will take its time.
It's amazing when you look back to last year's a doddle for Ferrari, a 1-2 here with Michael Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello. They won by a country mile, and everybody just asked me what has happened to Schumi and Ferrari.
Well, I tell you, it's not just Schumi and Ferrari, it's the tyre element which is causing all the problems for them. They don't have a tyre which is producing the grip. It's not working in conjunction with their car. You've got a driver here who's got problems with his teammate, problems with his brother. You know, this guy hasn't won a race for a long time, and this is the biggest spell he's ever had since 1993 not to win a Grand Prix.
So Nick Heidfelder is the top German here, and he showed real skills through the streets of Monte Carlo, blew Alonso away.
He did indeed. I've looked at this, and I think it's just a textbook overtaking manoeuvre. He comes into the chicane, cleanly goes underneath Alonso, just backs off the throttle pedal. That then allows Alonso not to get back on his throttle pedal and make another move on him. It really is a great style, great confidence, and this guy is on a rock and roll start situation now. He really has got the BMW Williams with him.
And Nick Heidfeld absolutely loves this place. He learned to ride a bike around here, is sledging down the old Nordschleife and all that. Let's move on to Fernando Alonso. Will he attack, or will he drive defensively and just accrue a few more points?
No, he has to attack. He cannot afford now to have the erosion on his World Championship lead. He must make sure that he keeps the pressure on. If Raikkonen's out in front, which we clearly believe he will be, Alonso has to keep pressure.
But you reckon the Iceman's hot streak will continue?
I think the guy will come off the line, will control this race, and will be off in the distance.
Thank you very much, Mark. Well, those BARs are back racing again after serving a 2-race ban for running an underweight and illegal car at Imola. As we've heard, going early in qualifying really has compromised their weekend, and there are more worries as well about the Honda engine. It has hardly been touched since that ban was imposed.
BAR make their race return today, not with a bang, but with a nagging worry over reliability. The team are concerned about possible oxidisation and corrosion within the Honda power plant. How hard can they push it?
This engine's been sitting around for 5 weeks, and that does make a big difference for a Formula 1 engine. I'm sure that no other team's ever tried that before. But I think that we're going to be strong in the race, and we're going to get some good points.
Unfortunately, an engine was sleeping in 5 weeks. We haven't experienced this situation, so we're a bit concerned about the reliability. But so far, there's no sign of anything wrong, so looking okay.
The team were banned after Imola for misinterpreting F1's rules on minimum car weight, and there's been some meticulous weighing of the car this weekend.
All we're doing at the moment is making sure that when the car is run completely dry of fuel, it will weigh 600 kilos. Before we were carrying 6 kilograms of fuel, which we needed to make sure the car could run. So that's an interpretation of the rules that the FIA have now made clear.
But will the 6 kilos of extra ballast carried in the floor slow the car down?
Yes, it will, because extra weight always costs you a little bit, but we're probably talking about maybe a tenth of a second or something, so not much.
Did anyone offer to resign over this? It's not really that sort of issue. The team had a big problem. It was working on developing the car, and the team really has a culture of solving problems. It's not a blame culture. Clearly we put ourselves in the wrong position, and we just had to sort ourselves out and get back, keep competitive, keep focused, and find the solution.
Well, BAR are back at the racetrack, but you're not really back with a bang, are you, Gilles? Jensen was predicting a win here a couple of weeks ago. It's not looking very likely now.
Well, I think we underestimated the change in the racetrack that we had yesterday. Unfortunately, we were hoping for probably a half a second to a 1 second deficit, being first and second out of line. But unfortunately, it was a little bit more than what we were hoping for.
Now, these engines have been sitting on the shelf for a couple of weeks. Just how worried are you about them lasting the distance?
Well, the issue is we're going into an unknown area. You know, the engines were not designed to be used that way. We think it's going to be okay, but it still is a little bit of an unknown.
Is there anything you can do to manage the situation, or is it just a matter of keeping your fingers crossed?
I think we did already everything we could do. We spent the whole of Friday and part of Saturday being quite conservative on how we use the engines, and bearing the situation in mind. But we think we're going to be okay. I think we had a good plan going through the weekend, and we're hoping for a good result. It's still from here.
We hope so too. Thanks, Gilles.
Thank you.
Any points would be a bonus for BAR here. We are effectively a third of the way through the season. Alonso's eyeing that podium again. 22 points clear of Raikkonen, a comfortable winner in Barcelona and Monte Carlo. Trulli, now he has huge support from the Toyota staff based close by in Cologne. Webber, fresh from his first podium, just ahead of the pole sitter Heidfeld. 2003 winner Ralf Schumacher, Fisichella, Montoya, Michael Schumacher and Coulthard. In the constructors, McLaren are the team very much on the move, and we have a revealing interview with team boss Ron Dennis coming up. BMW Williams, they've closed in on Toyota after scoring big in Monaco. Ferrari, just 21, and what a massive decline when you remember they passed the 100 mark here last year. BAR have yet to score. And they've changed their tune a bit here, haven't they, BAR? A bit more humble at the moment because they came here saying what they were going to do to everybody.
Well, they've been really racy in the media over the last couple of weeks. They've all said they were going to come back here with a vengeance and put something together, and that car was capable of winning. But as I see it now, and as you can clearly see it, that's not the case.
If you stop in Formula One, you go backwards very, very quickly, don't you?
You do go backwards, Jim. The progress down this pit lane is incredible, and you've only got to look at even Ferrari with the Bridgestone tyre problem. They're on their back foot, and they still can't catch up.
And from Jenson Button's point of view, his worst grid slot of the season, he'll be looking to make up ground very quickly.
You know, this guy was on the podium every time you looked around last year. They were second in the Constructors' title. All of a sudden, it's all gone pear-shaped, and we do want to see him back there.
Quick word from you about the engine. Will that go pear-shaped? We've seen it blow in the past.
I hope it won't. I think it'll be fine.
Let's have a word with a man whose engines have been really good this season. It is the Renault boss, Flavio Briatore, there at Renault, talking to Lou.
Well, Flavio, you're still leading the championship, but Kimi and McLaren coming up fast on you, aren't they? Have they got you worried?
Oh, sure, it's very, very hard beating McLaren here, you know. Raikkonen was very quick, but, you know, we see. Monte Carlo, we have a problem. Here, really, we don't have a problem. We are not quick enough to qualify, but let's see how much fuel have McLaren, let's see how much fuel we have, and I'm sure it's a very good race.
You were winning everything at the beginning of the year. Have you gone off the boil a bit, or is it the others just catching you up?
We're doing something for the sport. I think so. We need increasing the television viewer, and we're doing only for the sport. Not the one to race after we start winning again.
That's very kind of you, Flavio. Thanks.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, the show is everything for Flavio, and Renault put on a great show so far for us this season. It's been easy, the best week of the season, a troubled season as well for BMW Williams. Career best second place for Nick Heidfeld on the podium in Monte Carlo, and on the podium for the first time was the Aussie Mark Webber, and both are up top and in shape for a big score today.
And there's Nick Heidfeld in second place, his best ever Formula One result. And Mark Webber too, his first ever podium in Formula One.
Williams' success in Monaco has continued here in Germany, with pole position for the young driver staking a major claim to be the Nürburgring's next local hero.
What a great lap from Heidfeld.
You're going to be lying in bed tonight dreaming about that first win?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I try to keep my calm. I hope I can sleep well, but it shouldn't be a problem.
Mark Webber really absolutely on it.
Never underestimate Williams, of course, you know, and people sit there and, you know, we did have a tough start, and people sort of say, well, where do they come from? You know, we work very, very hard.
And both Webber and Heidfeld are in agreement about who's going to be making them work even harder today.
Quite clearly it's going to be Kimi. I mean, they have dominated the last couple of races, and definitely they will be very strong.
Kimi looks very strong. Yeah, Kimi looks very strong. So, but we want to close the gap to Toyota in the points, and both cars up the front, and just try and keep chipping into that gap with the other red team.
Starts have been Williams' weakness this season, never more so than for Webber in Monaco. It's a problem the team believes it's solved. We'll find out later today if they're right.
Definitely we have to improve our starts. My start in Monaco wasn't too bad, but I still was weaker than some people around me.
They've got to come through us to get to that podium, and whether that happens with strategy or on track or off the bloody start, we'll see, but who knows.
Well, just in the back of the Williams garage here, nervous mechanics. And Sam, everything okay so far?
No problem. No, we're ready to go.
So what about those starts? Is there not a little thought in the back of your mind that things might not go so well?
I think it's the same for everybody, really. I mean, everyone can have good or bad starts. We haven't had a good run for the last couple of races, but we've put a lot of effort into trying to fix that. It is a long drag down to the first corner, so there's every chance that anything could happen, but we'll do the best we can.
Podium possible?
Anything's always possible, so we'll just try and score as high as we can and be there at the end.
Have a good race.
Pleased to tell you that Sam Michael has promised to join us live from the pit wall during the race. What do you make of those starts? I mean, from where I'm standing, it'll be tough for Williams to sort things out in the brief time between Monaco and here.
Well, you would think so, but actually there's several hundred people back at the Williams base. They've already had the test team out. They've had a guy doing 50, 60 starts, practicing day in, day out, to make sure that the problem that we saw in Monte Carlo doesn't happen again. And that really is going to be playing on Nick Heidfeld's mind, I can assure you.
Is there added stress for Heidfeld on pole?
Of course there is, yeah. I mean, it's a home country and a home Grand Prix for him. Big pressure. He's on pole for the first time, and he knows underneath him is a car which possibly will not start that cleanly.
Yeah, it's an absolutely crucial phase, the start here, 180 mile an hour to the first corner. We had a lot of incidents at that first corner, and Williams won't like us reminding them what happened last year. Montoya took out teammate Ralf Schumacher.
Well, he did indeed, and this is a classic turn one situation here. They are up to about 185, and they've got off cameras to come in. Watch what goes on here. Montoya then gets pear-shaped on his brakes and starts to slide into his teammate, and it's just a big kerfuffle when it comes into the first corner. We've seen it time and time again, Jim, here, and it could well happen again today.
You think so?
I think it's quite possible. I think there's a few people on there. I think the testosterone levels are a little bit high, and it could all go off.
That's right. I seem to remember last year that Ralf Schumacher carried on and sort of drove over to Matta's Toyota too, so he did the complete job there. Thanks for the moment, Mark. Anyway, well, just like Williams, McLaren harvested 14 points in Monte Carlo. They really do look the class of the field at the moment. If you listen to Mark Webber, he will tell you they are on a different planet. In a moment, team boss Ron Dennis with some strong things to say about his drivers. First, a reminder from Louise Goodman about McLaren's return to form.
After a less than dazzling start to the season, McLaren is now clearly back on winning form. The race pace of the MP20 was never in doubt, but it took a while for the team to learn how to extract the maximum over a single qualifying lap, leaving their drivers with everything to do on Sunday afternoon. The turnaround came in Imola. Raikkonen took pole and was leading comfortably until his drive shaft failed. It was McLaren's only non-finish of the season, a dramatic improvement in reliability over 2004. Fastest lap of the race was small consolation for the Finn, but the warning signs were clear to their competitors. McLaren were on their way up. And how? In Barcelona, Raikkonen was untouchable from pole to flag. He left the opposition trailing in his wake once again in Monaco. With 20 points from the last two races, the next target in Kimi's sights is overtaking Fernando Alonso in the championship race.
It's a long way to go this season, but do you still deep down feel confident that your team, and I suppose looking at it now in particular, Kimi Raikkonen, will overtake Fernando Alonso?
I think in Formula One confidence is a weakness, not a strength. You must segregate each race. You must understand the challenges of the race and go there with a clear intent of winning that race and not get clouded by what's gone before, what's going to go after. We are not confident, we are focused, we are determined, and we have to slowly and systematically attempt to erode the Alonso lead.
Bearing in mind what Kimi has done for you so far this season, how disappointed are you with Juan Pablo Montoya?
I'm not, disappointed is the wrong expression. I mean, the whole team wants both of its drivers to work towards finishing first and second at every Grand Prix, and in our team, who comes first is immaterial to us. The most important thing is to come first and second. If a driver is either struggling in the car or struggling because of his physical condition, which of course in Juan Pablo's case, he suffered an injury. This long debate about how it happened to us is totally immaterial. I mean, if someone says this is how it happened, that's how it happened, and the fact that it didn't matter how it happened seemed to go over everybody's head. They made a bigger issue of it than it really was.
Just looking at him walking around the paddock here in Germany, it's only our view, Ron, he doesn't look fully right. That shoulder doesn't look fully right.
The thing is, everybody's...
You're not a medical expert, I know, but the demeanour is not someone that's 100% confident.
Everybody's been looking at the shoulder, but what they don't know is that he'd injured it before. And the slight lopsidedness that he has in the shoulder is two things. A, it's the previous injury, which he had in kart racing. And secondly, it's the fact that we're still working hard on developing the muscles, but we don't see any any problem at all with his shoulder now. What you do see is a different Juan Pablo to the beginning of the year. You know, he is more focused. His approach is dramatically different now than it was at the beginning of the year, and the results will start to come. He's got one quality which is very rarely found in a Grand Prix driver. He listens.
I noticed you chatting away to Kimi just behind us there before we did this, and you obviously reach parts of him that others can't, because he puts up a very sort of forward defensive face to the world. Is he a very different personality to the one that we're given access to? Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's. I don't think you'd feel uncomfortable with me saying that Kimi is a boy in a man's body, and it's not unusual to find that in Grand Prix drivers, because they've sacrificed things to put themselves in a position to be a Grand Prix driver. Very often it's education, but equally it's not having the possibility to go through adolescence. So they're sort of they start to live their lives a bit late when things start to go well for them, and they obviously have the material ability to enjoy themselves. And then what you have is a driver who's inevitably got some insecurities. But having said that, I mean, no one needs me to tell them what a phenomenal talent Kimi is, and just how well he handles the pressure of leading a race, and how measured he is in his performance.
How important is it for you, Ron, to go out as a winner?
Well, I don't know many human beings who don't like to win. Inevitably, people think that winning in the McLaren world is solely and exclusively Formula One races, but it's not. I have had a vision for McLaren, which was, is 15, 20 years in the making, and I think it's moving very much in the right direction. I've got this 10-year enjoyment plan, what I want to do with my family, what I want to do with my kids, but at the same time fulfill some remaining responsibilities to McLaren.
Thanks very much for this, and happy birthday for June the 1st, and what a birthday you share with Martin Brundle, I believe.
Yes, I know. I mean, I was very encouraged when you told me earlier that he looks older than me, and that cheered me up no end. Thanks, you.
Thanks.
Yeah, we go back a long way, 25 years with Ron, a bit more. And of course the pressures of the business are such that the opportunities where I'm together privately with him are very rare nowadays.
And what about the way he runs this team and how he's managing Kimi? Because Kimi's looking so strong this season.
Well, Ron's always been the best manager in the pit lane, from the tidiness of the team, from the organisation and everything. There are the managers here who are good, Flavio and people like that, who manage in a completely different style, But Ron runs a tight ship and has probably always been the leader of the bunch.
Thanks, Kiki.
Pleasure.
Kimi Räikkönen, a boy in a man's body.
I think Ron Dennis hit the nail on the head. I really do. I think most Grand Prix drivers come up in that way. And I think most professional sports people, if they have to sacrifice an amount to get to where they need to be at the top, that's just one of the downsides.
Do you share my misgivings about Juan Pablo Montoya's fitness?
I am concerned about the shoulder. I mean, I've got a shoulder injury which I've carried for 2 years, and I don't think you ever get 100% back together again. But the main thing is, as long as it doesn't, hinder his driving, then he doesn't have an issue.
And Ron Dennis, younger, better looking than your pal, Martin?
Hey, no comment.
That's not what you said in rehearsal, by the way. You said he's looking good for 69, so I'll say it for you. Okay, here we are then at the Nürburgring, right in the heart of Michael Schumacher country. But Germany's #1 sporting hero is very much on the back foot. It's 7 races since we've seen his famous winning star jump. So how Schumi's army reacting to life in the slow lane?
Not the kind of headlines Michael expected this season, and they haven't been much kinder at home. If Michael Schumacher's racing life is a journey, he's currently being delayed. Over the last 6 races, the world champion has only visited the podium once, and now stories run around the F1 media that Michael's previous blue sky relationship with the Scuderia has hit a patch of turbulence.
You make up all these stories. Quite frankly, we're pretty relaxed and calm, as we always. We have been through much tougher times.
This air of irritation did not exist 12 months ago. The prancing horse was a picture of good health. The Schumi smile, a permanent accessory, thanks to 5 wins from 6 races by the time of Nürburgring 2004. Then Michael went on to win another 7 on the trot.
Ferrari's current run of form has hit the sport itself here in Schumacher's heartland. The Germans love a winner, and winners mean TV ratings.
To be honest, it's a little bit less. Last year it was more because Michael was so successful. On the other hand, it's still very, very high compared to other programs, so we are still happy with it. It's just that it was unusual high last year.
So a combination of spaces in the fan club grandstand and several million less TV viewers points to a change in what Formula One means in Germany. This season, more success has come from Ralf Schumacher and today's pole sitter Nick Heidfeld. Michael's not used to being his country's lowest qualifying F1 driver. Is this a retreat of the red tide?
Now you have 2 other stars like Kimi and Fernando, which do a very good job, and they create their group of fans. So in this respect, you can't always win. I knew that before. I know it. I see it now, and that's the way it goes. But I, anyway, do enjoy it.
Well, Nicky, you were 2 times a Ferrari world champion. What is the pressure like within that team to win?
The pressure in the old days when Enzo Ferrari was alive was a little higher, I think, than today. But nevertheless, they want to be successful, and if you want to be successful, there is pressure, especially in Italy, where the whole country is behind these 2 cars, and the Italians always want to see it winning. So the pressure is building up.
And you know the German audience. Do they still have the same support for Michael that they always did?
If Michael is winning, they're certainly behind him. If Michael is losing, they drop him. This is basically what is always the same, not in only Germany, in all over the world.
And what about you coming back to the Nürburgring? Mixed memories for you?
Not really, because my accident is a long time ago, and I certainly survived properly. I'm still alive, everything is working well, so I have no problems.
Thanks, Nicky.
This crash here in 1976 on the legendary Nordschleife track, and it finished that particular circuit right next door, of course, as a Formula One venue. Boris Becker is joining us, regular visitor to the paddock, and Boris gearing up for his commentating duties at Wimbledon in the not too distant future. These really, though, are harrowing times for Jordan. They had one of their best racing weekends here back in 1999. Heinz-Harald Frentzen stuck the car on pole and led for a lot of the European Grand Prix, but those days seem a long way away now. In my view, Jordan are in need really of some tender, loving care. Let's join sporting director Trevor Carlin with Ted Kravitz.
Well, indeed, Jim. And Trevor, you've had a bit of a weekend, haven't you? In trouble with the FIA, the car's spinning off all over the place, in amongst the Minardis. Are you wondering what you've let yourself in for?
Well, yeah, it's been tough, but, you know, I've been doing motor racing now for quite a long time, and the situation's the same. It's just bigger problems in front of a lot more people.
And what do you make of all these rumours that the team is going to be sold and Eddie Irvine even is going to come in?
They're not true. The team isn't for sale. I think there's a bit of mischief going on by some people out there just trying to destabilise us.
Okay, we all want to see a strong Jordan, so have a good race, Trevor.
Thanks very much.
Okay, what do you make of Jordan? I mean, they really do seem to be in a bit of a state at the moment.
I think they're in a lot of problems, and there seems to be a lot of rumours kicking about, as Trevor Carlin mentioned, then that the team's up for sale. That destabilises everybody there. But at the end of the day, the on-track performance is lacking, and it's only getting worse at this moment in time.
It's so easy in this sport, as in the other sport as well, to go backwards. It's tough to make progress.
It is indeed. I mean, these guys are at the back of the grid. They don't have the resources to start going forward, and they're in a little bit of a downward spiral. As soon as they bottom out, whenever that will be, then we'll see some progress made.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Let us join Louise. She is with Jenson Button.
Jenson, I bet you're missing Martin and James in that air-conditioned commentary box, aren't you?
Not really, no. This is definitely where I want to be.
I thought you might say that. Tell us about this first corner. We've seen numerous incidents down there over the years. Does that get your attention at the start?
It does, but I mean, the problem is you can't go in too safe, because as soon as you go in too safe, that's when the accidents start. So, you know, you have to push as hard as you can, and you've obviously got to be very careful in the way of looking for a space, but you've always got to be on it.
Now, I know you would love a win today, but you're starting a little way back on the grid. Realistically, what would be a good result for you?
We need to score some points. It's not so much for to have some points on the board. It's more so that we we have a good slot for qualifying in Montreal, so that's the reason. Can I just say, this is Kieran, my little nephew. He's out here this week just helping out my physio with massaging and everything, and he's doing an awesome job.
I bet he's a nightmare to work with, isn't he? Thanks, Jens.
Very nice work experience if you can get it. Competition time now. We have a new one coming right up for you. First of all, the result of our Monaco competition.
We gave away a rather unique prize to be immortalised in an oil painting by Formula One artist Jill Bradley. Only you won't have to go topless. The question was, with which team did Jarno Trulli win the Monaco Grand Prix? The answer, of course, Renault, and well done Donna Robertson from Hemel. This week, it's a fantastic trip for two to the Goodwood Festival of Speed on the 25th and 26th of June. You'll get passes for both days, accommodation, and be chauffeured around for the weekend. Plus, on Sunday, you'll enjoy a lovely meal in a trackside pavilion with a perfect view of all the action. To enter then, just answer this easy question. Goodwood House is in which English county? A. Derbyshire, B. Worcestershire, or C. West Sussex? Call 0901 293 2020 or text F1 plus A, B or C to 63337. Calls cost £1, texts also cost £1, plus your standard network rate. And hurry up because the competition closes midday this coming Thursday.
The very best of luck with that one. We will be on the grid when you rejoin us as the countdown continues to the start of the European Grand Prix. Just over 15 minutes away from the start of the European Grand Prix. Let us go down to that melee on the grid and talk to the Aussie Mark Webber, third on the grid in the Williams.
Ready?
Which is right over your grid slot earlier on. What do you think?
Well, that's the card we've been dealt. I think, okay, you'd prefer not to be there, but that's how it is. The cars are quite sensitive to white lines and things, so we'll try and do the best we can, get away. Both Nick and I are in good shape here, so we just want to try and get through the first corner.
What would you be happy with, apart from the win? What would you be happy with at the end of this race?
I think, a podium. McLaren clearly still seem on race pace quite strong, so we've seemed to have closed the gap to Toyota and Renault from the start of the year, so we'll see how Renault go. They're going to be strong, you can never discount them, but we're going to build on Monaco result.
And your rear tyre wear okay?
Yep.
Thanks, Mark.
It's good to see him up there, Fernando Alonso making his way down to the grid as well. And we all guess at this stage, don't we, Mark Blundell, about the amount of fuel on board, and there's a feeling that Mark Webber might have plenty.
I'm not too sure about that, Jim. I think he's not got enough to worry any of those guys who are contending for the championship, like Alonso here and like Kimi Raikkonen. But the other factor for me is Montoya. I think Montoya now has got race pace, which is actually going to take some points away from Alonso in terms of the World Championship, and that's got to be factoring into what Renault are thinking about at this point.
Montoya fifth on the grid, Fernando Alonso and Renault's sixth. Michael Schumacher, well, is that the reigning champion and his successor? Michael Schumacher chatting to Fernando Alonso, leads the championship by 22 points. Do you think that Fernando is the man for 2005, or have you got a sneaking eye on Kimi Raikkonen?
Well, I'm going to keep an eye on Kimi Raikkonen because you can't take your eye off the guy, but I think Alonso's got a maturity about him this season, and he's got something underneath him, as the Renault car has shown, to win the championship.
Rubens Barrichello has out-qualified Michael Schumacher, and I believe he has been talking to Louise Goodman.
Oh, Rubens, what kind of race shape do you think you're in?
Well, it's difficult to know. I mean, the weather has changed a little bit. It's a little cooler than the Friday and Saturday. We have great tires for the race. Our hope is that the others might struggle a little bit towards the end of the race. Having said that, it's all open. I have to cut clear the first corner and gain a couple positions.
Are you expecting to see quite a wide variety amongst the strategies that the teams are running here today?
Yes. I don't, even though I think Williams has done a fantastic job so far this weekend, I don't think they are faster than the McLarens. So it will be overtaking. We saw on GP2 lots of overtaking. I think this race might be interesting.
Rubens turned 33 last week. It's been a pretty miserable season for him, has it, after the opener in Australia?
I think it's been a tough situation for him because he's had a few reliability issues. He's also just had this run-in now with Michael Schumacher, his teammate. So there's got to be a little bit of friction there in the team. And Rubens would dearly love to get on the podium and just be, strong for the remainder of this season.
Okay, Fernando Alonso, 22 points ahead in the championship, loving every moment. He always looks so cool right before a race. Here he is live with Lou.
Fernando, it's been a couple of races without a win now. It's going to be quite a tough call from 6th on the grid, isn't it?
Yeah, this one is even more difficult starting from here. But we only did 2 races without the victory and seems a very long time. But we will try again today, but at least a podium I think we deserve this weekend.
Well, Kimi's the man who's been up on the top step of the podium for the last couple of races. Do you think he's going to be the man to beat today?
Yeah, I think Kimi has 80% of the race at the moment in the hand, and we need to do a perfect race if we want to beat him, or even something problems for him in the race. If not, will be extremely difficult today.
You had all sorts of problems with your tyres at the last race. Are you quite confident that's not going to be an issue today?
Yeah, it's perfectly okay. I think we have also a harder tyre compared to our big opponents, so maybe we can have even an advantage this race in this side.
Have a good one.
Yeah, those tyres wore away, didn't they? Monte Carlo gave us an absolutely thrilling climax. A bit of compensation, I suppose, for Alonso. Both McLarens blew out here last year. What about this fellow, Nick Heidfeld? Apparently his whole family are here. What a week he has had, and there will be massive expectation. 100,000 Germans probably looking more towards him than Michael Schumacher.
He is the #1 German driver as we currently speak now, but I think Nick Heidfeld's in a little bit of unknown territory. He hasn't sat in pole position of a Grand Prix. He hasn't led that pack round, so there's going to be some pressure building up on his shoulders. But he has got a car underneath him which is quite capable of leading the Grand Prix, but I'm not so sure it's going to be there come the end of it.
He'll be pleased to be there because not so long ago Raikkonen was preferred to him, wasn't he, by McLaren. That hurt him deeply.
Yeah, and Nick Heidfeld went through a little bit of a struggle in the early years because he was getting compared to a couple of very strong contenders next to him, but I think he's really come about now and proved himself, and for me at the moment he is probably the #1 guy inside Williams BMW.
Jenson Button, we loved him in the ITV commentary box, happier to see him there, and Webber as well, but a word about Jenson and his prospects for people just joining us perhaps, Mark.
Well, I think Jenson Button needs to put in a strong performance and put some points in the bag. He's got nothing on the table as we speak, but BAR Honda have come in and they are definitely 5 weeks out of tune.
Fisichella, 9th on the grid, is with Ted.
Well, Giancarlo, just looking at you, you look strong, you look confident. Up for this one, yeah?
I feel confident. I think we have a good strategy, and the pace yesterday and on Friday was good. I'm looking forward. Even last year I did a fantastic race with Sauber. I started from the back of the grid and I finished on 6th position. So I expect to be quick today, and the target is to get on the podium.
Have a good race, Giancarlo. Thank you.
He is targeting the podium. Nick Heidfeld is the pole sitter. Briefly, Mark, you're not veering away from Raikkonen.
No, Kimi Raikkonen is going to be the guy today, and I think he's just going to continue his winning ways.
Well, we have the Brits, David Coulthard and Jenson Button, both starting outside the top 10. Scoring is their prime target. Michael Schumacher, 4 times the ringmaster, only just ahead of them. Can he really conjure something special out of the red Ferrari from there? Fernando Alonso, runaway championship leader. He is on the 3rd row. Very confident. He's told us he's aiming for the podium. Montoya next door on the clean side of the grid. Then Trulli, backed by Toyota's Cologne workforce. Webber desperate for a decent getaway. Raikkonen in brilliant form alongside the pole sitter Nick Heidfeld. Another quiet man, happier, letting his driving do the talking. The European Grand Prix is next.